On Halloween, Japan's new Prime Minister met her Chinese counterpart, promising to build constructive and stable ties between the two countries. But the mask soon slipped. 9 days later, in her first address to Japan's parliament, Sanae Takaichi, a hardline conservative and the country's first female leader, kicked off what has become the most serious diplomatic clash in years between Asia's two biggest economies, when she threatened military intervention against China if they tried to invade Taiwan.
If there are battleships and the use of force, no matter how you think about it, it could constitute a survival-threatening situation.
That term, a nod to their ability to exercise self-defence even if it's not under direct attack, despite Japan's post-war constitution forbidding the use of force to settle international disputes. In a since-deleted social media post, a Chinese diplomat based in Osaka responded in what's thought to be a direct threat to the Japanese Prime Minister, saying, "We have no choice but to cut off that dirty neck that has lunged at us without a moment's hesitation." The threat to Taiwan looms large over this part of the world. China has ramped up its warnings to the self-governing island in recent years, launching large military drills off its coast as recently as April. China claims the island as its own, and President Xi Jinping has vowed to retake it by force if necessary. But Japan's hawkish comments has antagonised China, leading to this provocative warning from the state broadcaster to avoid travelling to Japan.
The Ministry of Culture and Tourism of China solemnly reminds Chinese tourists to avoid travelling to Japan in the near future. Chinese citizens already in Japan should closely monitor the local security situation, raise their safety awareness, and strengthen self-protection.
Chinese airlines, including China Southern, China Eastern and Air China, have offered refunds for flights to Japan, and Chinese students are advised against studying there. The news sent Japan's tourism stocks plunging and prompted retaliatory warnings.
This recent advisory is based on recent local news reports regarding the situation with Japan-China relations. In light of this, the Japanese diplomatic missions in China have once again urged Japanese nationals residing there to take thorough safety precautions.
Also causing tension between the two powers, the dispute over Japan-administered Senkaku Islands that China also claims. Yesterday, Japan called China's ships sailing round them unacceptable. Today, delegates for the two powers met in Beijing to discuss recent tensions, where China reportedly urged Japan to withdraw recent remarks and stop creating trouble on China-related issues. Though military intervention is highly unlikely, hostilities between the key trading partners now look to continue. In words and wallets, not bullets, for now.
Joining me now is the director of the SOAS China Institute, Professor Steve Tsang. Professor, does this make escalations in Taiwan more or less likely?
I don't think we are looking at an actual escalation into anything like military confrontation over Taiwan anytime soon. It is a matter of the Chinese government trying to make Japan toe the Chinese line. And once that has been done, then China would have sent a message to other countries in the region that they must follow Japan's example.
What does this say about the new Prime Minister in Japan's approach to foreign policy? Is it surprising that she's reacted like this so early on in her premiership towards China?
I think it is slightly surprising in terms of the way how the message was being communicated. I think the reality is that China would have calculated that Japan would be involved militarily in the event of China using force against Taiwan, and the United States intervened militarily, because all US forces that will be sent to help Taiwan will have operated from Japanese bases on the Japanese mainland and from Okinawa. So they are prepared for that. They are simply trying to intimidate Japan into submission and try to minimize the risk of America's Asian allies helping the US in the event of a Taiwan crisis.
But are you surprised that so early on things have escalated, or was that always predictable with this Prime Minister?
Well, we know this Prime Minister has always taken a very robust stance on issues like Taiwan and relationship with China. So it is not entirely surprising that she would have spoken her mind openly fairly early on in her premiership. But it is slightly unfortunate that it happened so quickly, and the relationship is going to get more difficult moving forward because the Chinese will not let go.
Do you think this is the start of an openly hostile relationship, or do you expect things to simmer down?
Well, I think they will probably have to find a way to put the relationship back on a more even keel. But it does mean that for the remainder of her premiership, the Chinese are not going to be cooperating very well with the Japanese unless the Japanese government make a major concession over Taiwan, which is very unlikely.
And what do you think it means for other tensions between the two countries, for Senkaku Islands, for example?
Well, the Senkaku Islands is, and the Chinese call them the Diaoyu Islands, is an issue that will not be resolved between any Japanese and Chinese government, because it is a territorial dispute for which both sides believe they have sovereign rights over that disputed islets. It will simply be much more difficult under the current prime minister in Japan because the Chinese government will assume anything she does is hostile to China.
On Taiwan, obviously there have been escalations in recent years, military practices, satellite images. Where do you think this is going? It seems that they are definitely threatening to invade, but you don't think that will actually happen.
Well, Xi Jinping has made it very clear that China taking Taiwan is something that will have to happen when the time for the fulfillment of his China dream of national rejuvenation is due, which is 2049 or 2050 at the absolute latest. So they are not working to a short-term timetable, and the often repeated warning from American generals that China might be using force at 2027 is not backed up by the evidence on the ground in China. They are not in a hurry, but they are committed to do it by 2049, 2050.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.